Hi and welcome to Old School Blues Guitar. It is time for the acoustic lesson of the month for September and October 2016. By request, I'm going to attempt to teach what I know of an instrumental called Guitar Chimes by the great Blind Blake. And Blind Blake, if you're not familiar with him, was probably the most sophisticated of all the finger-picking blues guitar players in the pre-war era acoustic guitar. And I don't claim to be an expert on his style. I am just going to share with you what I figured out since somebody asked about this song, and I'm going to ask some questions too, because there's a few parts of the song that I don't know exactly what he's doing, and maybe we can figure this out together, which would be great. I do play the song live, and I play kind of my version of it where I made up some parts to replace parts that I'm not sure what he's doing. But in this video I'm going to try my best to teach according to the original record. So we're going to start out with the introduction and the opening verse, and then we'll go verse by verse, and I will eventually have some tab available for this. So I'm not going to tap out the whole thing because I'm not really good at this finger picking tap stuff. But anyway, it's in the key of C, and it starts out with this harmonics thing, which is kind of neat, and you don't hear this in too many other blues songs. It starts out like this. If you've never done this before, I'm no expert at it. I've done a little bit, playing Merle Travis style, trying. It's kind of hard to do it in a complicated way. This is pretty straightforward. You just put your finger, I use my ring finger, on the 12th fret, right on the fret, right on the fret, not in between, but on the fret. And I'm just barely touching the first string. And I pick it and take my finger off. So the key is to pick it and just barely touch it and let it ring out. You have to mess around with this and experiment with it. And he just does that on the first, second, third, and fourth strings. And the first two times through, he does that same pattern. First, second, third, fourth. First, second, third, fourth. So like this. And then the third time through, he goes back the other way. 4, 3, 2, 1. And then again, 2, 3, and 4. And that's the opening of the song. So that by itself is kind of fun to play. Now the first part, I'll play it through the way I play it the best I can, trying to stick as close as I can to what I hear in the recording. But again, you know, to be able to play just like Blind Blake and make it sound just like him, that takes some work, and I'm not quite there yet. But I do play this song. I love this song. So here we go. Messed up in a couple spots, but I'm trying to play it exactly like he plays it, and so I'm not sure in a couple places. He starts out with this little bass thing. Now, when I listen to it, this is a part that I'm having trouble with, the very beginning. I'm not sure how he does that bass and then gets back into the alternating bass. So if you do it like this, what I'm doing there is another typical Blind Blake thing, where in the key of C with my C chord, I've got my ring finger getting both the 3rd fret of the 6th and the 5th strings, and then with my thumb, I'm going to drag it from the 6th to the 5th string, like a stumble. It's called a stumble bass, at least that's how I hear it referred to. And then I'm going to get into my alternating 6 and 4. And I'm playing that as I play the first part of the song. So if you play it like that, it's pretty easy to keep the time and keep the alternating bass going. But when I listen real closely to the recording, it really sounds like he's starting it out 5-4 with a C shape with his ring finger just on the 3rd fret of the 5th string, and then he's stumbling from the 5th to the 4th string. And if you you think too much about it, it's going to screw up your thumb. So what I've done, and you can look at how I'm doing this, I don't even know how I'm doing this. I just kind of do it. I don't worry about if I hit the 6th string twice before I hit the 4th string or what's going on. Listen to it yourself on the original recording of Guitar Chimes and see what you think. So I start out with this. And that's the first phrase. One more time. And the important thing is when you hit this, you're coming down on the 4th string with that thumb. If you get to that, you're doing it right, or at least you're doing it in time with Blind Blake's doing. Now the melody part, what I did is when I'm trying to learn this song is I try to isolate the melody from the bass and then put them all together. So he's playing out of a C shape, and a lot of this song he's just picking with his index finger and kind of following the chords. So first notes are on the 3rd fret of the 1st string, and then it's open 1st string, 1st fret of the 2nd string. I'm not moving my fingers, I'm just keeping them in that C position. The only thing I'm moving is the pinky coming down and then coming off. And then he's going to go probably with the 2nd finger to the 2nd fret of the 3rd string. And then back to picking the 2nd string with my 1st finger still on the 1st fret. So just the melody part. And with a lot of this song, it sounds to me like when he's picking, he might be getting more than one string. Whoops. Or one string. You listen to it and decide what you're doing. So that first part, and then he's going to go over the 4. So this is where you're picking over an F chord. And so you've got to make your F shape with your first 3 fingers. 1st finger on the 1st fret, getting both the 1st and 2nd strings. 2nd finger on the 2nd fret of the 3rd string. Ring finger on the 3rd fret of the 4th string. And then here's the hard part. You've got to wrap your thumb to get the 1st fret of the 6th string. So you can get that bass. So when Blind Blake plays his tunes in C, when he plays around over the F chord, he's got usually the 6th and the 4th string that he's alternating between. And to be able to do that, you've got to put your thumb on the 6th string. That takes some practice. I'm lucky I have big hands, but I'm not sure how someone with small hands manages to play a tune like this, but maybe there's a way. It's always a way. So anyway, over the F, trying to break that down, let me just do the melody part. So let me take it from the first verse to get it in context. So I'm getting the open 3rd string, and then coming down on the 6th and the 4th strings, still in the F shape. So, and then I'm getting the 2nd string. And then I'm going to pinch the 4th and the 1st strings with my pinky now on the 3rd fret of the 1st string. So this is kind of, you just got to mess around with it. So the basic melody. So without the bass, and the trick is you've got to play this. Whoops. You got to play that while keeping the chord, playing the alternating bass. The secret to that is there's a couple places where you're pinching 2 strings together. You're playing a treble string and a bass note at the same time. In my beginner lessons, I stress this as being one of the keys to playing the alternating bass style. You're not doing 2 totally separate, mutually independent things. You're doing something that works together. The thumb and first finger often are pinching notes together. If I try to explain this, I'm just going to confuse the crap out of you. So I'm just going to play it and kind of give you an idea of what I'm doing. When we get to the stop verses, I can explain more accurately what I'm doing. I just kind of played around with this song and kept the chord shapes. Whatever you do, keep the chord shape and see if you can get the picking. Another thing I did is I listened for the downbeat on the bass, because that tends to be more audible than the low bass note. So let's take it from the very start after we do the chimes, the harmonics. Whoops. That's a C7. And when I'm doing this, I'm just picking really the first three strings, and I'm shifting from a C to a G7 chord, like that. And just hear that melody and try to do it without the bass. And try to imitate it, or play something close that'll work within the timing. That's how I started out. And then I go back to the recording every now and then. I'll pick a verse of the song and listen to it and try to get it exactly right. Close on that. So the whole thing so far. So I'm just doing this. Going from a C to a C7. And then there's a little stop time. This I can slow down and show you. He's going to go to the 4th fret of the 2nd string and an open 1st string. And then to the 1st fret of the 2nd string, open 3rd string, 3, 2 on the 4th string. And then he's going to put that C shape down again with the pinky on the 3rd fret of the 1st string and pick the 2nd string and then the 1st string. So let me do that part again. Watch where the bass comes in. 6, 4. And one thing I do when I'm trying to figure this song out is I take each part and just break it down into phrases and keep working on that phrase until I'm close. And I've got most of the song where I'm close. And my goal is to have it exactly right one of these days. But that's a good way to do it, is just break it down. Whoops. Hold on. And then he goes into this really neat part over the 5. And there I'm just playing the treble part. So this part sounds to me like he's pinching the open 4th and the 1st string at the 3rd fret. And then he's going 3, 4, 5 on the 1st string. And then back to the 3rd fret of the 1st string to the 1st fret. And then 3rd fret of the 2nd string. Open 2nd, open 1st, or open 3rd, and then 3rd fret of the 1st string. So that's the treble part that he's playing. And that is a really cool thing. Now the problem is he keeps the bass going throughout this, and sometimes I leave out the 6th string. In fact, I'm not real good at throwing the 6th string in on this yet, so I play it like this. And I come down with the open 4th and a little bit of the 3rd, kind of just a choppy thing. So like this. Whoops. Like that. And I think he's got his thumb on the 3rd fret of the 6th string, and he's keeping that alternating bass somehow. But what I do, if I don't feel comfortable playing it, I'll just leave out the 6th string and just keep the timing and just hit the open 4th string. I got that from listening to a lot of Fred McDowell, where he leaves out the 6th string. It works. It's not how Blind Blake played it, I don't think, but it's hard to hear. So when you get to the 5, you're doing this. And then you're going to go into this. And this sounds like he's just stopping the bass and picking over the F chord. So he's doing a little hammer on from the 1st to the 2nd on the 3rd string. Let's do the whole thing in context. And then he's going to the 3rd fret of the 2nd string, bending. Like that. So let's do it all the way through. And then to the 2nd fret of the 3rd string. Open 3rd string. 3, 2 on the 4th string, 3rd fret of the 6th string. So without the bass, whoops, like that. So let's do it one more time. And then he's got the C shape. He's going to pick 3rd fret of the 5th string, upstroke on the 1st, 2nd, even a little bit of the 3rd string, and then downstroke onto the 4th string. So it's like this. I messed up. One more time. This is the hardest part for me, is this verses. I'm trying to teach and think, and at the same time I have a lot easier time if I just play it. But anyway, and then this part, I'm not sure. It sounds like he's doing an F, an A flat 7th, and then a C, and then a G. So the chords here, he's going to pick the 6th string and then come down on the rest of the chord from the 4th string down, giving it kind of that bassy Blind Blake. Then he's going to do the same thing with the A flat 7th. My thumb is on the 2nd fret of the 6th string, and my other fingers are making an A7 shape and just moving it down. So it's an A flat 7th. That chord. And then I'm picking the bass note on the 6th string and a quick strum of the chord. So the turnaround is like this. One more time. I need to get only the 1st string with that ring finger. And then I always play a little bass with the C, coming back to the 1. So my ring finger is getting both the 3rd fret and the 3rd fret of the 6th string and the 3rd fret of the 5th string. Whoops, like that. And then he's just strumming a G. And keeping that alternating bass going. So let me do the whole thing. And again, I don't even think about what I'm playing there. I just try to keep some bass going. You can play a monotonic bass and just thumb down or come down on that 3rd fret of the 6th string with the thumb and pick that. So let me try to go through the whole first verse. roughly what's going on in the first verse. Take what I got here and listen to the original and see if you can hear what I'm trying to do. But one of the keys is a lot of the melodic parts, you're keeping the chord shapes. If you're just moving the chords on that part, so I'm just picking the top 3 strings, throwing in my pinky, then getting an open string, and putting my pinky on the 2nd fret of the 3rd string, and then going back to the C. So the chords, if I was just strumming that, would be like that. So when Blind Blake's doing all that picking with his right hand, he's just picking melodies while he's shifting the chords. No one taught me that. I just figured out what chords the song was in, started listening to it and trying to imitate what he was doing. But anyway, that's the first verse. And now the next part of the song, we'll get into the first stop time.